The Chef's Coat, a love story. Priya was so excited. She had just received the news that her seat in the Institute of Hotel Management had been confirmed, and she would soon be starting her education to become a hotelier, which was a long-standing dream. As soon as the news was confirmed, she started making lists of all the things that she would need to begin her journey as a hotelier. One of the first things she needed to buy, apart from her kitchen equipment, was her chef's coat. The chef's coat was most important because she saw herself becoming a famous chef after her education and running her own restaurant. She dragged her mother all the way to the store where uniforms were sold to quickly pick up the coat she so badly wanted. Running through many racks of chef's coat, she finally came upon one that was sitting far in the end of the rack. She looked at it, then looked at another, and looked back at it. This one was different. It was thicker, it was cotton, and looked like it had been there a long time. But one look at it and Priya knew she had to have this one. Despite her mother insisting that she should buy something else, Priya went ahead and picked it up from the hanger. The coat that had been sitting there for over a year was just as excited. His heart pounded hard, and he couldn't believe that it was finally his time to shine. Holding the coat to her heart, she quickly rushed to the counter, had her mother make the payment, and practically ran with the coat to her house. Running into her room, she pulled the coat out of the bag, held it tight, and the coat's happiness knew no bound. He felt warm, happy, and very quickly knew he was going to be in love with Priya. She quickly washed it, ironed it out neatly, and embroidered her name in red on the coat. It sat proudly, saying Priya. The coat smiled wide, feeling a rush of hope and an anticipation of wonderful times to come. She put it in a hanger and hung the coat in her cupboard. Rushing out again, she gathered everything else that she needed to start college in a week. She would come back every day, peep into the cupboard, look at her coat with great pride and longing, waiting to wear it and go to college. The coat had a special place in her cupboard, way on the left side, while all her other clothes were on the right. There were times when all the other clothes that Priya wore, some shiny outfits, some pink pretty dresses, yellow and sparkling gowns, beautiful trousers, and so many others, looked at him with great envy, stuck their noses up and laughed at him. Look at us, we are so shiny and sparkly and bright, and look at him, white and dreary and so drab. The coat looked at them with great pity, since he knew how special his place in Priya's life was. Ignoring them, he continued to keep his chin up and waited for the day that came soon enough. College began, and it was a great adventure for both the coat and Priya. They enjoyed their time in the college kitchen, where, starting with very basic things, she went on to learn so much more. The coat held Priya close all the time, and knew that he had a very important part to play in her life. He remained smart, alert, and always ready for whatever Priya wanted of him. As time went on, Priya began training very hard for a contest that was to soon be held across other colleges. It was an annual chef's competition. She had just begun training, and there was a while before the actual contest was to be held. The court couldn't wait in anticipation of the whole thing. As time passed, the court started feeling like it had been a few days that he had left his hangar and cupboard. Priya had stopped coming to take him to college. He worried and wondered what was wrong, but there was no way for him to know. The other pretty dresses looked at him and laughed and spoke among themselves, saying, "See, we told you. It wouldn't be too long before she loses interest in him." But of course, he thought he was so important. He isn't so important after all. We are the ones she actually wants and goes out in and parties in and looks so beautiful. Look at you. What is the use of being a dirty, drab white coat? The coat, so confident in Priya's love all this while, suddenly was unsure. He didn't know why Priya wasn't coming to him and why she wasn't picking him up with as much love as she did all the time. Some of the starch soon started going out from him. His shoulders began to droop a little bit, but he still tried to keep his chin up and wait for Priya to come and their adventures to start again. One day, when someone opened the cupboard, his heart picked a beat, and he wondered if Priya was coming to see him. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. It was only her mother looking for something else. In a conversation that he overheard, he realized Priya had fallen ill and was in and out of hospital and not going to college either. His heart broke. He was so sad and so worried for Priya and wondered if his life would ever be the same again. A few weeks passed and he had lost all hope. Then one day, early in the morning, the cupboard opened again and there she was, Priya, smiling at him, not for a minute looking at the other dresses, and pulled him out of the cupboard, holding him tightly against her, and ran her hands all over him as though trying to recall how he felt when she picked him up for the first time all those years ago. He was so relieved and happy to be in her arms again. She took him quickly, washed him up, dried him, brought him back to his lovely white glory, and wore him, and off to college she went. The preparation for the chef's competition was on in full swing. It was just weeks before the contest was to actually happen. All their training was in place and their team was absolutely ready. He knew that there was no way anybody could be better or stronger than Priya and he. The day of the contest had arrived and they had cooked up a storm. Everybody was so impressed with what Priya had done and he felt so proud. Weeks later, again, it was time for the award ceremony. Everyone had been invited. Priya was dressed in this fabulous white coat, starched and completely ready with beautiful red buttons running down the front. Walking into the fabulous ballroom of the Taj Mahal Hotel in Mumbai, his excitement knew no bounds. Sitting down in the first row, he looked around carefully to see what the competition looked like. There were many, but he was quite sure there was none like them. Quietly waiting for the ceremony to begin, He thought back to all the wonderful times that they'd had and was so grateful that life had given him an opportunity to be hers, her friend, her love, and everything else that was important. There was a hush in the hall. The awards were being announced. Third runners-up, second runners-up, and the winner of the chef's competition is Priya Bhatnagar. There was a great big shout that erupted in the hall. Loud applause. His heart thundered. His love for Priya was complete. She touched him and held him close to her. She was practically running up to the stage, holding her mother's hand on one side and her white cane in the other. Her head was held high, her heart filled with gratitude. She was smiling so wide, and as she was guided on stage, she was asked to say a few words. She said, "As I stand here, it takes me back to the time when I first fell ill, losing all my senses and being left bedridden. It was a long time, a long 6 years when I thought I would never be able to stand on my feet again, let alone be able to work in my kitchen and win this award at some point. Today, despite my blindness, I've not only realized my lifelong dream of becoming a chef, but have also mentored many people like myself to get back on their feet and live independent lives. I'm here because I believed in myself, and as hard as the journey might have been, I knew I couldn't give up. I had faith in my abilities and in all that was around me. Thank you so much for giving me this chance." The applause continued, and Priya held the trophy aloft for everyone to see. This was the most beautiful moment in the life of the chef's cook who had thought there was never going to be anything good waiting for him. I hope you have enjoyed this beautiful story of a young girl and her dreams and aspirations that were woven into this beautiful chef's coat. My name is Payal Kapoor, and I am the author of this story. Thank you so much for listening.